We shall now learn Unit 14, Transportation in Plants and Circulation in Animals. As we all know, we have learned earlier in previous classes, plants absorb water from the soil by xylem, and the food synthesized by the leaves gets transported to the different parts by phloem. This bulk movement of substances through these vascular tissues is called translocation. In this video, we shall study in detail how water and minerals move from the soil to the plants and how the prepared food by the leaf is moved to various parts of the plant. Also about the types of transport processes that helps in translocation. Transport in plants. Transport in plants is of two types, passive transport, active transport. Passive transport is the movement of molecules from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. And so it requires no energy, there is no need of energy because it moves with the concentration gradient. Whereas in active transport, it's the movement of molecules from lower concentration to higher concentration. It moves against the concentration gradient and so it requires energy. And what are these energies? They are the membrane bound proteins which act as pumps, and this helps to carry molecules across the cell membrane. In active transport, the energy or the ATP is required to pull the extracellular fluid inside the cell. It is clear that there are two means of transport in plants, passive and active. Diffusion is a passive process. When a drop of blue dye is dropped in a beaker of water, the high concentrated dye molecules diffuses with the concentration gradient into the water until reaching equilibrium. This passive process of movement of molecules from a higher concentration to lower concentration without the requirement of energy is called diffusion. Now let's watch this video.
Osmosis is the process by which fluids move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Osmosis occurs due to the free energy of the solvent molecule in two regions. The free energy of the solvent or pure water is greater as compared to that present in the solution. So when osmosis occurs, the solvent moves from a region of its high free energy to a region of its low free energy through a semi-permeable membrane. To do the experiment we require a large potato without peel, knife, 20% sugar solution, Petri dish, distilled water, pins, and a tile. Procedure. Take a potato from the watch glass and place it on the tile. Take a knife and cut both ends of the potato to make it flat. Using the knife, make a cavity in the center of the potato from the flat side almost up to the bottom. Take a beaker containing distilled water and pour the Petri dish half full of distilled water. Now, place the potato on the Petri dish that is half full of water. Take the beaker containing sugar solution and fill half of the cavity of the potato with 20% sugar solution. Mark the level of sugar solution in the cavity with the help of a pin. The potato now functions as an osmometer. Leave the osmometer undisturbed for about 2 hours. Mark the rise in the level of sugar solution in the cavity with another pin. Observation. the level of sugar solution in the potato cavity rises after some time due to the entry of water into the sugar solution through selectively permeable membrane of the cells of the potato. Conclusion. The movement of water from the petri dish to the potato cavity occurs because of the difference in the concentration of solvent molecules in the two regions, sugar solution in the potato cavity and pure water in the petri dish.
It's an experiment to prove osmosis. In this, water molecules from the petri dish, which has the higher concentrate of solvent, that is water molecules, moves to the lower concentrate of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane. And it doesn't require energy. This is called osmosis. Can you try the osmosis experiment? I tried and I inferred the result. So dear children, you can take it as a today's assignment and observe the inference.
Take a potato, peel off the skin, peel both the ends to make it flat. Make a cavity at the center of the cut potato. Pour some water into the beaker. Keep the potato in the beaker. Prepare 20% sugar solution. Fill 3/4 of the cavity with 20% sugar solution. Mark the level of the sugar solution with a pin. Leave this setup for 1 hour and infer the result. The level of the sugar solution inside the cavity has raised.
Osmosis is of two types. First one endosmosis, second one exosmosis. What is endosmosis? It's entry of solvent into a cell when kept in hypertonic solution. Hypertonic example we can say pure water. Why is it called hypertonic? Because water concentration is more. Let me give you an example. We shall consider the dry raisin or any seeds. When you keep it in water for an hour, it swells. Why? When it is kept in water, a turgidity is created, and as a result, it swells. And what is exosmosis? It's a withdrawal of water from a cell. Endosmosis, entry of a solvent. In exosmosis, withdrawal of water. So, exosmosis is withdrawal of water from a cell when placed in hypertonic solution. Hypertonic solution where you find more of solute, for example, sugary syrup. Let me give you an example. When grapes or swollen raisin is kept in sugary syrup, the cell becomes flaccid. So that state of the raisin is called plasmalized cell. Plasmalized cell. The phenomenon of the osmosis process is called plasmolysis. So what is plasmolysis? Plasmolysis is the state of a cell due to exosmosis where the protoplasm shrinks and the cell membrane is pulled away from the cell wall, creating or leading to flaccid state. Now watch this experiment. Recollect your knowledge to answer my question. What is the type of osmosis in this experiment?
Take a beaker of water, add some raisins to it, leave the setup for 1 hour. After 1 hour, look at the raisin, how it was swollen.
Yes, it is endosmosis. The dry raisin is soaked in water. Water is hypertonic, which is a high solvent and zero solute. In water, no solute is added. It's pure. Pure water is always hypotonic. So, the solvent enters into the cell, so end osmosis takes place. This movement of water molecules into the cell, making the cell to swell, is called imbibition. Clear? Okay. In transportation plants, root hairs play a major role and they become the water absorbing unit. There are millions of root hairs on the tip of the root which absorb water and minerals by diffusion. These are the thin, walled, slender extension of epidermal cells that increase the surface area of absorption. Pathway of water, root hair absorbs water by diffusion, and once when water enters into the root hair, it keeps moving with the concentration gradient. That is, water molecules move from higher concentration to lower concentration. As a result, water moves from the root hair cells to the cortical cells by osmosis. And finally, it reaches xylem of the root. From there, it is transported to stem and leaves. Movement of water into the root cells are two types: upperplast, symplast. Upperplastic movement of water occurs through the intercellular spaces and the walls of the cells. It is dependent on the gradient. Second one, symplast pathway. Here the water travels through the cells, through the plasmodesmata. This movement is again down a potential gradient. Today's assignment. Thank you girls. See you next class. Have a nice day.